polling the crews.
Looks like a beautiful setting.
Out of attention. And these crews are off. This is the start of the third varsity lightweight 8 heat 1. Princeton, Navy, Harvard, Georgetown, Dartmouth. These crews now in their high strokes coming out of the starting sequence. And it's a clean start across the board from all 5 of these crews. Definitely a quick start from the Tigers over on the far side in lane 1. In fact, I'd say a pretty quick start from all of these crews. As they get a bit closer, I don't expect to see too much margin in between them. Right now, though, it does look like Princeton is one of our early leaders. And now starting to lengthen into their base cadence. The Tigers definitely out ahead. They lead Navy by just about a half a length. And it's the Tigers again rowing for these top 3 positions now. It's Princeton, Navy, Harvard, Georgetown, and Dartmouth just barely in that order. Top 3 positions are very tight, with Georgetown and Dartmouth right now out of qualifying positions. Of course, it's so early. I'd say Harvard's starting to pick up a little bit of momentum, a few strokes from the 500 meters down, but we'll turn it over to the water and our expert commentary team. Fred, what do you see?
In the third varsity lightweight, heat number 1, it's Princeton with a couple of seats over Navy. Navy with about 4 seats over Harvard. Harvard with about 7 seats over George Washington. Make that Georgetown. And then very closely followed by Dartmouth. Dartmouth maybe a seat down on the Hoyas. But it's inside out now. The leaders, Tigers, about 3 or 4 seats up on Navy. Navy chugging along. Let's see if I can get a rating here. Very comfortable. 36 for Navy. Harvard about 3 seats back at Navy. So these 3 crews in qualifying position. Harvard turning over at 37 and a half. And then the Hoyas and Dartmouth have fallen a length back of Harvard. So it looks fairly comfortable for the front runners, the front leaders of Princeton, Navy, and Harvard. Harvard now has open water over the Hoyas. The Hoyas now have extended their lead over Dartmouth to about 4 seats. Very good conditions out here. And the Tigers starting to take a press as they go through the 1,000-meter mark. Now has 5 seats over Navy. Navy has extended their margin over Harvard, and they have 6 seats over Harvard. Harvard still open water on the 2 remaining crews, Georgetown and Dartmouth. The Tigers looking very comfortable. Nothing has changed over there, 36 strokes a minute. But Navy, taking a bit of a press, has come back on the Tigers. Navy has bumped it, I think, to 37. Now they were at 37, so they're just making a little bit of a comeback on the Tigers. And Navy has almost a length over the Crimson. And those 2 or 3 crews, a half a length open over Georgetown and Dartmouth. As they approach the 500 to go, the Tigers are comfortably in front with Navy close beside them. Navy a full length up on Harvard. And then lots of open water back to Georgetown and Dartmouth. Over to Linda.
Thanks, Freddie. We're looking at the top 3 crews in this lightweight 8 varsity race. Princeton, Navy, and Harvard are easily in qualifying position as we're finishing the last 500 meters to go. Princeton and Navy are quite close, and even though they will both advance to the grand final, barring catastrophe, the lane seating can be critical if the wind comes up. So both crews will be looking to do a little extra if they can just get that seat advantage coming into the finish line. So it is Navy and Princeton going after each other. Harvard are in 3rd place, comfortably ahead of Georgetown, who are also ahead of Dartmouth. So the 3 qualifiers as we come into the final 250 meters are Princeton, Navy, and both of those crews are a length up on Harvard, with Georgetown and Dartmouth trailing. We've got Princeton just ahead. They are going hard. Princeton is keeping their nose in front of the Navy crew as they come past the final few strokes, a length ahead of Harvard. So we've got Princeton just about to cross the finish line, followed very closely by a pushing hard Navy crew, and then Harvard. Those 3 crews will advance to the grand final this afternoon in the 3rd varsity lightweight 8, followed now by
And these crews are off. This is the start of the 3rd varsity lightweight 8 grand final with Penn, Princeton, Navy, Cornell, Harvard, and Columbia. And it's a clean start from all 6 of these crews. Definitely a quick start from the Tigers. I'd say they look to be our early leader, if not one of our early leaders. We'll see margins as they get a little bit closer. These crews now coming through about 300 meters down. This is a grand final, so it's a race for medals. And a very exciting field here as they come through. I'd say Columbia on the far side really keeping their bow out as well. And Princeton and Columbia are early leaders. Princeton now leads Penn by a few seats. But I'd say it's Princeton as we approach 500 meters down. Penn perhaps with a little bit of an answer for them. Fred will have to tell us. He's got the best seat in the house from the water. Fred, what do you see?
Lightweight grand final. It's a doozy. You've got Princeton and Columbia tied for first. And then you could call anybody in third. It looks like Cornell and Harvard neck and neck. Slightly back is Navy, and Penn probably in last, but only by about a half a length behind Navy. So the Tigers with about 2 seats over Columbia out here on the outside in lane 6 or lane 5, and they seem to be punching their ticket early here in the second 500. They're starting to pull out on the field. Now it looks like Cornell is challenging for second. Cornell's got a seat or 2 on Harvard, Columbia, and Navy. Cornell at 37.5. Going for broke here. Trying to pull up. Wow, what a great race. Columbia, Harvard, Cornell, and Navy are inches apart, inches. And Pennsylvania is a half a length back of those four. I just heard a rebel yell in the Princeton boat. They're loving being in front. They've got almost a length. As we go into the third 500, it's the Tigers with a stern on bow deck of Navy. Now Cornell has slipped back, and Harvard on the inside is pressing. Navy is pressing. By golly, this is close. Now Harvard again, pressing hard. It's going to be a great race for silver and bronze. Great race. All crews rowing about the same rating. Ideal conditions here. .36 for Navy. Cornell is slipping back just a little bit. Cornell and Columbia are slipping back. Harvard and Navy now are fighting for second. Harvard and Navy. Now Navy's taking the lead for second. 5:50 to go. Princeton open water. Harvard and Navy. Tooth and nail.
With water, man.
Who can come up? Can Cornell make a bid? Can Columbia make a bid? It's the Crimson and the Midshipmen are going to fight it out for that silver and bronze medal. The Tigers have been confidently in front all the way. Now Harvard shifts. Harvard has a seat or two on Navy. Does the Navy coxswain see? Yes, she does. Navy answers. Navy comes back. I think Navy's clearly in second now. Great race. Watch Harvard and see if they can sprint to catch Navy. Navy right now is silver. Over to Linda.
After Princeton, but it is Princeton and Navy in second. Princeton in first, Navy in second. Harvard Lights in third. And then we're looking at Cornell and Penn and Columbia right on top of each other to finish out this grand final. So going for the medals, we have Princeton in first, and the midshipmen are in second, with the Crimson from Harvard in third. And then we're looking at Penn, Cornell, and Columbia, but with a few strokes to go, that lead could change hands. And we have a great finish. That is Princeton with the gold medal, Navy with the silver, Harvard with bronze. Congratulations to those top three crews. What a great race.